This is a pleasure.
Well, thank you, Mr. Humes. It's a very nice place you've got here, even if the elevator is a little grating.
Mr. Humes!
It's all right, Joe Moore. Please, sit down. You have a question for me?
Yes, well, not so much a question, more a proposition. You see this machine right here? Do you know what this is?
No.
Well, this is the Randomiser, and in here we have every single Jerry Anderson television episode and feature film ever made.
That's remarkable what science is capable of.
Quite so, and we were rather hoping that you might be able to press the button for us today. Although, I don't know, the gloves might be a bit of a problem.
I can program anything.
Oh, well, that's certainly new, operating the machine without touching it. How long have you been able to do that?
I don't remember.
You might want to have that looked into. Right, let's see what we have. Okay. Well, it's Stingray today with An Echo of Danger. Is that one of your favourites, Mr. Humes?
So what? I can't recall.
Oh, well, it's a good one anyway. Guess we better go and watch it.
Yes, of course. Joe Moore, show them to the elevator.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll take the stairs, I think.
Stingray! Stingray! Stingray!
So, we welcome back to the Randomiser, good old Stingray, with an episode that has a very interesting opening, I find. It's one of my favourite bits of character stuff from the entire series. X20 playing the piano here. And this is reused music from Secret of the Giant Oyster. He's playing the piano along to this pre-recorded tune, but it's just so nice, such a nice insight into the character, because it shows that between assignments from Titan, he has downtime. He just relaxes, or in this case seems to be learning more about life on the surface land by playing one of their instruments. He seems to be doing quite well. And aside from this music recurring throughout the story, this piano playing really has no point to anything. It's just a lovely bit of character development. Very understated as well, which is nice. It's a shame, considering how many instruments are in the back room, we don't get to see him playing those bagpipes. But hey-ho, the piano is nice too.
What's wrong with X20? He should have answered my call 10 million minutes ago.
Yes, Titan has put a call through.
Surface Agent X20 reporting, Your Majesty. I'm sorry for the delay, but
Save your excuses.
He was practicing the piano. He had his piano recital to get to.
The destruction of Stingray have been to no avail.
Oh dear, so it's time for another master plan.
Do not destroy the craft. We must ruin the efficiency of the crew.
But this is a clever idea, this episode. Rather than take down the whole crew, let's take down one crew member. Which I suppose we've done before with the master plan, take down Troy, but...
I get them relieved of duty.
Don't ask me, you fool. I give the orders. You think of ways to carry them out.
I'm the beauty, you're the brains.
Why must Titan always give me the impossible tasks?
Oh, it's nice as well that we see X20 get frustrated with all this as well, because sometimes, as we've seen, he just wants to kick back and play the piano.
Atlanta. There's millions and millions of gallons of oil in that container tube.
But I like this as well, this planning scene. Shaw, Atlanta and Fisher are reviewing this model setup, which is very nice.
Maybe the idea is old, but the material that tube's made of is new.
There's an oil shipment.
Why we can carry such a big quantity.
Stingray is going to be acting as escort for.
What's she going to ask next? Why is Stingray on escort duty?
I also have to mention at this point, I don't know if maybe the film stock was changed or they started lighting the sets in a different way, but around this time in the series, the picture quality just suddenly looked a lot better. And I think this episode has always looked nice. It even looked nice on DVD compared to the other episodes around it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just that
it's an all-round lovely viewing experience for a lovely story.
They startle me.
But as the WASP personnel, I'll let X20 explain.
Don't realize that I'm cleaning their windows so that I can see them more clearly.
Yes, thank you for that. You saved me having to sum up the visuals here. But there he goes. I also love that nobody in the control tower actually notices him go. It's almost as if X20 in certain scenes exists outside of the larger narrative. It was almost like when he was saying his dialogue there, it was like he was talking directly to the audience, which I find quite fun. I always find X20 quite fun, but I just love that there's no consequences for that terrible fall he suffers there. And we have some gorgeous visuals of this this crude oil shipment being dragged across the ocean by tug, and Stingray cruising around the place, getting quite up close to those oil tubes, I think. But don't worry, nothing can go wrong.
From Tower.
I also love the distance between the ship pulling the oil and Stingray up front, right in front of the camera, and the model looks really big in certain shots in this sequence.
Okay, fella. Your move.
While all this is going on, Phones is playing checkers opposite himself.
Well.
And I do like it. It does make me smile at times, scenes in these old shows of someone playing a game.
Game?
Both sides are being played by them.
Check.
What, again?
Yeah,
As if it's some kind of futuristic thing, and now we look back on it and thinking, actually, that's something we can do really easily. We can play checkers or whatever opposite people who don't even exist, so...
Oh, must come this way. It's a bold plan, but this echo transmitter could do the trick.
Pause for evil laugh.
It works by remote control.
The remote control part is the funniest of all. Oh, but I don't know why they've gone with this Secret of the Giant Oyster music for this episode, but it's so lovely. I do like it when Barry Gray dips into the old music archives and finds something that actually has legs to be used again further down the line.
Stingray should be in range by now.
X20 has dropped off an echo sounder, which makes a little bloopy bloop noise when you turn it on.
got something?
Well, there's some kind of underwater craft down there, that's for sure.
Can you get a fix on his position?
Nothing could be easier.
And interestingly, a lot of this dialogue around this discovery of and journey to the echo sounder, a lot of it was just reused in The Cool Caveman for some reason. I guess it makes sense if you have a scene that, you know, does the job of another scene, you may as well just reuse the footage, but I always find it interesting. I think there's a bit in Captain Scarlet where they use the same shot of Lieutenant Green saying, "I can't make contact, Colonel." It's the same recording, and I think the same puppet footage. But anywho, Stingray has found...
I can't see a thing.
Nothing much.
Must have made a mistake, Phones.
But of course, this poor old convoy, T3 tug, and lots of oil, is all alone and unguarded.
No sign of Stingray.
It's almost too easy for X20.
It's worked.
Just open fire and... Oh... And it's such a shock, this scene. The effects are beautiful, it goes without saying. But it's also such a shock to see... Yeah, our heroes have stuffed this one right up. This is a fairly big disaster.
It's worked.
That's a lot of oil going up in those tubes.
Stopped.
Stingray from tow vessel. Emergency! Emergency! We're on fire!
And there's human lives involved
Abandoning ship.
Roger.
on the tugboat.
Speed to pick up survivors.
Oh, and the fire's already reached the boat. This effect stuff is just so moody and atmospheric. Doesn't have any music right till near the end, which is quite interesting. But oh, the explosions are beautiful, and I love the shot of Stingray just rising up, just surrounded by smoke.
Look at that!
And these hugely violent explosions. Yeah, the tug's already on fire.
There's nothing we can do except pick up the survivors and head for home.
Okay, Troy, and come back with some answers. They'd better be good, 'cause, brother, you're gonna need 'em.
And it's hard to think of any moment in the Super Marionation show where we see our heroes completely and utterly not only fail their mission, but I think some people have died on the tugboat. Stingray has presumably picked up everybody, dived beneath the water to safety, but what I find quite chilling about this is it going to happen again? You hear the tugboat sounding its horn as Stingray dives beneath the ocean, which always makes me think there's someone still on board that ship, frantically sounding the horn, And if there was, they are now gone. The whole thing has been a complete disaster. We come back to a very somber atmosphere.
Hiya, Brad. How are things going?
As far as I can make out, they're not going too well.
I've always wondered who did those voices, because I don't think those are any of the regular voice actors. I sometimes wonder if, like, the post-production team occasionally had to fill in with voices on these shows.
And order. That's better.
Phones is outside the inquiry room.
Yes, we don't
Inside we have Shaw, Atlanta,
now.
Wasp, Admiral Guy number 1, number 2, number 3, Lieutenant Misen.
I can't ignore the one definite fact.
That looks like it could be Thompson from Invisible Enemy in a Wasp uniform. Nice to see him promoted.
At the time, investigating a sounding.
And Troy and Fisher at the other end.
A sounding that proved to be completely without foundation.
I like that they forgave Lieutenant Misen so easily.
There's absolutely no reason why...
Order! Order!
And I just love the very serious and somber tone of all this.
Tempest. I'm sure all of us in this room
Because the characters seem just as shocked as we are that
responsible for
they
the
failed.
of the world's security.
And it seems to be incompetence.
Good.
And the baddies have scored a point for once. It's very rare, especially in this show.
So again, that all Marineville personnel must be 100%, both physically and mentally.
Which brings me to the question of those security checkpoint guards. What the hell are they about?
That phones must submit to a full medical checkup. And until the results are forthcoming, phones will be relieved of all duties.
Oh no, of course Phones is sat outside.
Let's have a lunch roll.
Yeah, the reporters are already there. Somehow they found out about this. Poor Phones. He's such a nice guy as well.
Congratulations, Surface Agent. You have done well.
Thank you.
He's already got a new disguise on, ready for the next part of his master plan.
Use his medical checkup.
Oh, he will. He will. A meeting will shortly be arranged between Phones and myself in this disguise. He will be under the impression that I am a psychiatrist who can help him. By the time I'm finished with him, he'll be laughed on to do wasps forever.
Oh. It's so nice to see the baddies actually making serious progress for once. But we also have these very sad shots of characters staring out the window back at Marineville. All very sad about how things are going.
You know, I feel as bad as you do about this phones business. And I just didn't have a choice.
I know.
And there's no animosity as well, which is nice.
Hype for hallucinations or whatever you call it.
Not like me, I have strange dreams about being shrunk and put in a fish tank.
Something we haven't thought of.
Look, Troy, the matter's closed. Of course, if some new evidence was to come to light,
Again, this is lovely character stuff too.
it would have to be unofficial, but good luck anyway, Troy.
Shaw's throwing down the gauntlet to let Troy do what he knows he's going to do anyway.
I was going to anyway.
I look
Go and seek out information for himself.
Don't forget, I've rented the house on the island of Lemoy.
Well, I know it. I just hope that if you find anything wrong, that you'll be able to fix me up before the checkup, Doc.
And by the way, you sound like everyone else who's ever lived on the island of Lemoy that I've ever visited. But I'm sure that's nothing.
Troy?
Now look, I've got a plan that may help to clear this whole thing up. Keep it under your hat. But this is the idea.
And who's this now making his way onto Stingray, accompanying Troy on the injector tubes? It's Lieutenant Fisher. Always nice to see him getting a bit more to do.
Wow. This is great. My first trip out to sea in Stingray.
Now take...
Unless you count that time in Set Sail for Adventure, which was broadcast before this episode. Yeah, I'm rewatching Stingray at the moment, one episode a week, as I think I mentioned previously. For some reason, I chose to watch it in broadcast order, and it's just a nightmare. I normally tend to favor like the production order or ITC order, which in most cases are basically the same. The Stingray broadcast order is just a nightmare, and that's one of the smallest examples. You have things like Marina throwing parties in her house that she hasn't yet had built, or the Stingray crew knowing about Troy having dreams about underwater aliens that he hasn't actually met yet, and so on. It's just
I've had some kind of crazy dreams.
a joke, the broadcast order. I know it doesn't really make any difference, especially in this day and age, but
to close your...
I didn't think it would stand out with Stingray so much as other shows, but it just goes to show all of them have these little running threads of continuity that if you throw them all up in the air and then stick them on the air in whatever order they land in, it just doesn't work. Anywho, Phones is now on the island of Lemoy, in the familiar room,
I guess you're the doc.
with yet another suspicious Peter Lorre sounding character. And this is, again, a great use of existing elements of this world of Stingray, in particular X20's house. As Phones closes his eyes, X20 is removing all of those paintings, having everything's turning around and being replaced with the communications equipment and so on.
Right, Mr. Phones, now open your eyes for a moment and tell me your thoughts.
Well, I've never had any of those. And of course, this is a fairly notable scene because it's Robert Easton talking to Robert Easton, which is always great fun in these Super Mario Nation shows to see an actor talking to themselves, especially when there's no other actors in the scene.
Mr. Phones, surely you're not having another hallucination, are you? I don't know.
And Easton's just a great performer throughout this series, and one of the most underrated, I think.
Like this? No.
Probably because he's only in the one series.
Your eyes
He just does so much quality work.
This time, try to relax.
But it's hardly surprising, considering he went on to become one of Hollywood's leading, if not the leading, voice coach. Oh, this lovely music. I was actually watching Secret of the Giant Oyster the other day, and to be honest, it wasn't as good as I remembered, but the music is just stand out all the way along. Obviously, March of the Oysters is brilliant, but this... I don't know, this music was composed to accompany people swimming through underwater caves, and it's just so much more epic than it needs to be for such a tiny, matter-of-fact scene.
Scared? Supposing I've had another hallucination. Come along, Mr. Phones. You must face up to the truth.
What I also love about this is Robert Easton is doing X20 doing a voice. It's a very subtle...
Believe it.
Little shade to the performance.
Boy, am I sick.
This slightly more Germanic sound to X20's regular voice.
Alas, Mr. Phones, the room has never changed. It's all in the mind. Now, what you need is to go to some lonely place and forget all about the wasps.
Pity I didn't know all this earlier.
Here's one of my favourite Robert Easton bits.
Trip, he's going out to that spot to look for evidence.
Say that again?
Troy Tempest is taking Stingray out to sea looking for evidence.
You don't say.
Yeah, X20 finding out that his plans might be about to fall apart and struggling to maintain his composure. Again, Robert Easton all the way along the line in this show is fantastic. Anywho, it looks like the Stingray chaps might have found the echo sounder thingy. They're landing quite close by. Again, Stingray looks nice and big.
You can stay aboard, Fisher, and I'll go outside and search.
Okay.
Of course, it'd sure help if we knew what we were looking for.
Oh, so they haven't noticed the suspicious-looking object on the ocean floor, then?
Do you think?
How many more times have I got to say no? This is an unofficial trip, and you're just not used to the equipment. If and when you join the crew, you touch, okay?
Okay. Sorry, Captain.
This is fun as well. I don't know why Troy is getting so grumpy about it. Because, he is a trainee aquanaut. He's got to learn this stuff sometime.
Seas of Stingray forever.
And even though he doesn't know this stuff yet, the whole, don't touch it. You'll break it. It's not really an attitude that a captain should have towards a junior officer.
Of your plan.
Yes, the Titan's personal guard are on their way to, I've forgotten what they were doing. Something, is X20 going to get the echo sounder? The Aquavivians are going off to a rendezvous with X20, I remember that much. I can't remember why, though. But more lovely sad shots of characters looking forlornly out of windows, or Atlanta's built a little house of cards there, so it's obvious everyone is worrying about all this.
Half hour, Captain.
Thanks, Fisher. Nothing yet.
First quarter, you've got another half hour, so they only had 40 minutes allocated for this. Is that right? Yeah. Unless my maths is broken. Oh, Fisher has picked up the headphones that he was told not to touch. Meanwhile, Phones is smoking away the last of his cigarettes. And Fisher's got something. I also love the way he calls Troy Captain.
Tempest? Captain,
What is it?
I'm picking up a sounding. Some kind of submarine, and close.
You got those headphones on?
Well, yeah.
Well, don't sound so sorry. If you've really found something, I'll buy you a set.
He's sending such mixed signals here, Troy, regarding those headphones.
Open the hatches.
Oh, but before Troy can move... There they are. The personal guard, 2 aquamphibians on his tail, and this is a fun and quite well-paced action sequence, and I guess it is an action sequence of the aquamphibians pursuing Troy. And they do so much with a very limited bit of set. And considering there's no actual water involved in this, I can thoroughly believe that they are underwater, that these puppets are swimming, even though I know they're just being flown across the set on wires. It does look like underwater. It's very convincing. But Troy's made it back.
Phew, that was a close one.
What about those 2 jokers outside?
Well, they can't do anything. Let's worry about that sub.
It is an interesting moment to look at that, though, there, and think
Wonder where those 2 cars...
how far the aquamphibians have fallen compared to how they were introduced in the first episode. Now you have 2 of them plonked outside Stingray, each of them holding a rifle, and Troy says, oh, they can't do anything, they're not a problem.
We can't find out what it's doing down here.
So, those aquamphibians, I guess, are not dead. Stingray would have just left them. I just find it strange that the aquamphibians didn't try to, like, crawl in through a torpedo hatch or try and shoot up the engines or whatever, but this week it doesn't matter.
They attack and get it over with.
Stingray's pursuing X-20's sub, and he really thinks he's for it now. Luckily, he's turned on his little box of tricks.
Got another sounding, Skipper. There's a ship right behind us.
Skipper? Captain?
We would have heard it approaching.
Very old-fashioned jargon Fisher's using here. I like it.
Right back and see what it is.
But then I like Fisher, generally, as a character. I think he's really, really nice guy, and often underrated and underutilized. I like that in later episodes they started to use him more than they had done. In the beginning, he really was just an extra, and there's episodes like this, he starts to take this journey towards... Well, I think it would have been nice if he'd been part of the Stingray crew, even if only occasionally. So now Stingray has found the echo sounder. Phones is going to be okay. I just love this shot of Stingray descending. Oh, although that's interesting. As Stingray just started to disappear out of frame, something was coming in at the top of the frame. It almost looked like, I don't know, some kind of cable, something supporting the Stingray model, I guess.
Say, it is really great of y'all, what you did. Do you know?
We're now in the Blue Lagoon bar. Marina's making her first appearance in the episode.
Crazy, ain't it?
The guy behind the bar was one of the puppets from Secret of the Giant Oyster, one of the naughty men.
I ought to get my head examined.
And we end with X-20's room going all higgledy-piggledy and wibbly-wobbly as all of the electronic bits are spinning and rotating and going up and down and such. Well then, that was lovely. That was Stingray, An Echo of Danger, and it's always been one of my, I think, probably personal favourites. I don't see this one getting a lot of love, nor does it get a lot of hate, but it's never up there with, like, the absolute classics of the series. And I think it probably should be, because it's a really nice integration of decent character stuff. And Stingray's characters are one of the real highlights and strengths of the show, but also some really nice effect stuff. And it's nice that the episode doesn't focus entirely around effects. We have this one sequence, which is so amazing and impressive that it not only stands as one of the greatest effect sequences of the series, I think it's probably one of the greatest effect sequences of any Anderson series. So much so that I think they replicated it in one of the TB21 comics, and even it was on the cover of one of the 90s comics, I think. So yeah, lovely effects, lovely character stuff. Always love a bit of X20, and yeah, it's a real nice a nice little capsule of everything that made Robert Easton such a really great asset to Stingray, both as a series and as a ship. So yeah, An Echo of Danger, good stuff. 2 thumbs up here.